one of the most important things that you can figure out for yourself is your priorities in terms of where you prioritize yourself, because society would have you believe that you should prioritize your partner above yourself, or if you have kids, that you need to put those kids first. And God Almighty, every employer or every client would want you to put your work first and foremost. And it can get very disorientated. I don't know about yourself, but I've certainly found myself at certain times in my life literally pulled in so many different directions and not knowing how to ground myself. And I needed to get a structure or a filter from which to live through that would allow me prioritize and allow me figure out which, tongue twister, but what I should be doing first and foremost, where things come. And so I want to share this philosophy with you in the hopes that it serves you as much as it has me, because for me, in times of disorder, in times of overwhelm, this is my key. So the very first thing is, I really believe that for whatever is going on in your life, you should prioritize yourself all the more. Now, let's look at that in the frame of a relationship. You know, a lot of the time people put their partners ahead of them. They just feel so happy to be in the relationship that they're happy to do what their partner wants, and they really kind of sometimes lose themselves a little bit, and then they wonder why they get dumped. The relationship doesn't go as well as they like. Well, the fact of the matter is, their partner liked them, and in giving themselves to their partner, unfortunately, they were lost. And so, of course, partner might be a little bit sad, might be a little bit disappointed. They were going out with you, and then suddenly you disappeared and you turned into some slave. That might be nice and convenient, but it's not what they got into the relationship for. So with that in mind, my philosophy is that if you have a partner in your life, that should be all the more reason to prioritize yourself, because in doing that, you give them more of you. And that's the greatest gift you can give, right? Because that's what they fell in love with. Even before that, if you really think about it, the more you do you, the more you look after yourself, the more you figure out who you are, the more people can see you for who you are. And although that might be disruptive because some people might not like that, that's fine, let them go. Others will see you for who you are and be magnetically attracted. So if you don't have a partner, being yourself all the more and doubling down on yourself will attract that right partner into your life. If you do have a partner, I would say it's all the more motivation to do you, so you can give them more of the gift that you are. Also, of course, the more you look after yourself, the better you'll show up in relationship, the more patience, the more grounded you'll be, the more communicative you'll be, the less stress you'll bring into that relationship, the more chances that relationship will thrive. And that's all well and good, but what about if there's a kid? Because oftentimes people give themselves to the kids, and kids can become really, really distracting. Well, my philosophy would suggest that if you have a kid, it is all the more reason to prioritize yourself, and all the more reason to prioritize your relationship than the kid. Why? Well, first and foremost, you want your kid to grow up together with both of you, right? And if you put your kid before your partner, very soon that will start to really negatively impact the relationship, right? And if you put the kid before yourself, you might lose yourself. Your kid might never realize who you really were. And this unfortunately happens. Sometimes people give themselves to their kids with the best intentions, and unfortunately all their kid knows is a slave. And they wonder why their kids don't respect them. So if you have a kid, my suggestion would be that is all the more reason to prioritize yourself, then your partner. And of course, if you're prioritizing your relationship second, but prior to your kid, you're going to parent in a much more considered, together fashion. Absolutely key. But then work comes up. And so many people make the mistake of putting their work before the relationships. Hell, they jeopardize the relationships for their work. But the fact of the matter is if your relationship isn't right, you'll be up all night. You cannot work the next day. And God forbid ever anything happening to your kid. Well, my God, work suddenly becomes dramatically deprioritized. So the fact is, you prioritize yourself, you prioritize your relationship, you prioritize your kids, and then your work. That's an interesting thing. People would say, well, one second, no, I need my work to live. But sorry, I talk about saying the same words over and over again. But for me, when you give yourself to your work consumes you and your work loses respect for you. And you wonder why you're not getting the pay rise you want. Or you wonder why you're not able to charge what you'd like. You're giving yourself too much to your work. There's no boundaries. Whereas on the other side, if you have clear priorities of, one, I'm going to prioritize myself first and foremost, you will show up as a different being in work. You will think differently. You will make better decisions for yourself. If you're aligned and together with your partner, think of the stress that just takes off your shoulders. Think of the distraction that takes away from you. You will show up in work better. And if you are feeling fulfilled and stimulated in how you parent your child, that's a different you altogether than you thinking you're not the father or the mother that you wished you were. So when we have these priorities in line, we show up in work with a different energy altogether. We make better decisions for ourselves. We have less stress hanging over us, and with that, we have more energy to do whatever it is that we're doing. We perform better in work as a result. Slightly counterintuitive, because so many, again, have this idea that they should give themselves to work. And my argument, my belief would be that that's the very worst thing you can actually do. Work isn't about clocking in and clocking out and the time you put in. It's about the impact. Any fool can work every hour of the day, but how do you work smarter? How do you do in an hour what others might do in a day or a week? That's the challenge. And that's the thing you will never figure out if all your time is given to work, because that just creates lazy habits with regards to work. But if you only have so much time for your work, that forces you and challenges you to think better, smarter. And the only other priority there is friends and family. And friends and family can get really distracting, and they can be very invasive. I would argue that friends and family come after your work. Why? Well, realistically, your family and your friends want you to be good. So you prioritize, want you to be right, want you to be healthy, want you to be well. So you prioritize yourself. They want your relationship to be thriving. And anybody that will come in between that or interfere with that, they really need some strong boundaries. So your relationship comes second. They, of course, want your kids and your family unit to be tight. So your kids come third. And they want your work to be right. They want you to be thriving. And so your work comes fourth. They come fifth. And that's really, really important, because oftentimes, especially in a kind of like late 20s, 30s, priorities in that shift, and friends can become quite disgruntled knowing, hey, where's my place in your life? It's there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's really, really important knowing that. Similarly speaking with family as well. Like, family will always want what's best for you. They want you to be right. They want your relationship to be happy. They want your kids to be happy. They want your work to be thriving. So they need to be prioritized accordingly. And this filter, this framework, it might seem a little bit clinical. It might seem a little bit strategical. But the fact of the matter is that, unfortunately, when we're pulled in loads of directions and when we're feeling a sense of overwhelm, we need frameworks like this to help us figure things out, to help us get back to ourselves. And so if you're experiencing any issues in your life, if anything's kind of coming up, sometimes putting this framework out in front of you and saying, okay, wait, where do these problems fall? Oh, there's work ones. Okay, they're there. There's family ones. Okay, here's with my partner. Here's with my kids. And actually, there's personal problems. I'm perhaps not looking after myself as well as I should. One of the most interesting things is, if you don't sleep well, if you don't prioritize your sleep, you're going to be irritable. You're not going to have the patience you have. Things will erupt with your partner. Things will erupt with your kids. Things will erupt with your work. And probably friends and family will distance themselves a little bit from you. So this filter is fantastic for just looking at your life, taking the problems, taking the issues, taking the things that are going on, and prioritizing them accordingly. And with that, you can then go, aha, well, first and foremost, before anything else, I need to do these things for me. Then I need to do these for my relationship and my partner. And then there's kids. I need to look after my kids. Then work, then friends and family. Now, this is my belief. This is my filter. Of course, you might look at this and be like, that's not how I believe. Good for you. Hopefully, this will just raise a level of thought, raise a level of awareness. And even if you don't agree with what I have to share, chances are that in itself will help you. Or on the other side, perhaps this is absolutely adaptable to your life now and will bring you similar value to what it has for me, which is magnificent, and I wish that for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, please feel free to leave your feedback, and if you have any challenges, considerations, wants, desires to connect with me further, feel free to reach out to me via my website, and I will look forward to talking to you soon.